Chapters 10 and 11. The dust in the room was thrown up in the air, along with a roaring, ground-rumbling noise. The colorful cans of paint that were lined on the shelves had splattered their contents all over the walls and the ceiling, making the inside of the shed seem like it was lifted straight out of Wonderland. I inhaled some dust, and managed to cough violently while giving a sigh of relief. I had predicted that Matarai's vigilant nature wouldn't let him leave the vacuum cleaner alone right after hearing about a dust explosion. It seems I was right. I threw the shed's window open, grabbed a shovel, and stepped carefully toward the fallen shelves in order to check the condition of the crushed boy. I had to feign bravery while I was confronting him, but my feet were still shaking with nervousness. The hand holding the shovel was already dripping with sweat. "Hello?" I peeked nervously through the gap in the shelves and saw Matarai pressed between them and the floor, as if he was the filling of a strange sandwich. It seemed he was still conscious, though, because he managed to look at me weakly.
I can't believe I fell for that."
It seemed talking was painful for him, perhaps because his chest was under heavy pressure.
But why wasn't there an explosion? There must have been static electricity and sparks from such a huge impact.
This is cement powder, so it won't explode, I answered, still brandishing the shovel.
Cement powder?
I adjusted my hold on the shovel and opened my notebook with my free hand. Let's see. The necessary conditions for a dust explosion are flammable dust, oxygen, and a source of fire. But cement powder isn't oxidized, so it doesn't burn. In other words, it isn't flammable dust, so it can't cause a dust explosion. That seems to be the explanation.
And you knew all that?
It seems the old man in charge of this shed really loves to talk. He sometimes catches random people and makes them listen to him ramble on. By the way, don't you think it's kinda shady that he told all that to a random high school girl? But I guess it ended up saving my life, so I should go thank him once this is over. I flipped through my notebook some more, and continued. Anyway, it seems this old man is really into DIY projects, and loves to build anything that isn't too complicated on his own. It looks like that's why he bought a large amount of cement powder, and stored it here in this shed.
And you used that as a decoy?
Yes, I wanted you to pull that vacuum cleaner. I dropped my eyes to the notebook again and nodded vigorously. By the way, have you heard of a movie called Home Alone? I used one of the traps from it as a basis for this one. I tied the vacuum cleaner and the shelves together with a rope, so that when you pull the vacuum cleaner, the shelves come down after it. Oh, that's right. The dust's secondary purpose was to keep the rope hidden. I used a white rope, you see?
You can stop now.
Matarai interrupted me with a weak voice.
So, was this trap the ace up your sleeve?
No, I have a different one. After all, in Home Alone, it wasn't Culkin who ultimately stopped the robbers. It was the adults who came to save him. It was that way in both the first and the second movies. So you see, the ace up my sleeve would be when someone comes to save me and...
Yes, I get it. Please stop.
Matarai twisted his face as if he was getting bored.
But don't you think it's still early for you to think you've won?
Huh? His strange expression caught my attention, and I couldn't help returning a question. What do you mean?
I mean I haven't shown you the ace up my sleeve yet.
Leaving those words, Matarai finally sank into silence. He didn't reply even when I prodded him. It seemed he had lost his consciousness. I had the feeling something was left half-baked, but since my notebook also taught me there's a chance I might catch monoconiosis if I inhaled too much dust, I decided to first get out of the shed. Well, I guess the school's security department can take care of things later. I'll leave it to them to apprehend that strange boy. Once they do, it's all going to be over. He committed the serious crime of assaulting a woman, so I think that they're going to expel him from the school, and that means I'll never see him again. The person who let out a groan like a small animal being stepped on was me. I felt a sharp pain in my throat. Something rugged was tightening around it, making it impossible to breathe. What? What's going on? Even deep in confusion, I could tell there was a black telephone pole in front of my eyes. Wait, why a telephone pole? I looked up, my thoughts becoming even more confused, and saw a white face on top of the tall and narrow telephone pole. It appeared to be a man's face. Furthermore, it was a face I recognized. There are some things even someone as forgetful as me can recognize. I mean, that face was the face of the man who was supposed to be unconscious under a stack of shelves. It was Matarai's face.
You seem surprised.
He wasn't injured. Even his clothes were perfectly clean.
I know what you're thinking. Why is the man I just took down inside the shed now standing here strangling me? Am I right?
A cruel smile tore through Matarai's face.
To make things short, this is the ace up my sleeve. Well, a part of it anyway.
His eyes, narrowed to their limit, were fixed on me. They were oily and glittering.
Well then, I think I'll begin by breaking your arms and legs. It's going to hurt for just a little while, so please endure it patiently. Maybe I should wait until you lose consciousness. It's going to be a bother if you start screaming.
His tone of voice was more composed than cruel. It was clear it wouldn't be any use at all begging for my life. Matarai applied even more strength into the hand that was strangling me, and I felt my consciousness slowly slipping away. I felt emptiness, as if my very own self was fading away, as each and every sensation was eradicated from my body. I couldn't say anything anymore. I couldn't breathe anymore. I couldn't make predictions anymore. My notebook dropped from my hand. My eyes became hazy. My vision blurred. In front of my eyes, both the scenery and Matarai himself became twisted. That's right. Twisted. Matarai's body twisted, then flipped upside down as if it was drawing an arc in the air. Then, with a loud, thick sound, it crashed down on the ground head first. That's what I saw. From my vanishing consciousness, which flickered in and out like a candle, I couldn't tell if it was reality or a dream. But nevertheless, I saw it. Grunting like a trampled frog, Matarai quickly regained his posture. Then, the moment he jumped back up, his eyes were drawn to his right arm, and he stared at it, transfixed. His right arm, from the elbow down, was unnaturally twisted, like bent licorice candy. At first, he just stared at it with a confused expression on his face. Then, as though he suddenly remembered how to, he raised his voice in a terrible scream. Yeah! His voice was a mixture of confusion, terror, and pain. It came out with such a force that it almost seemed like he squeezed out every bit of air in his body. I heard that dreadful scream, but all I could do was stand there, dumbfounded. No, I didn't even know if I was still standing up or if I fell to the ground. I couldn't understand anything that was going on. And then, I heard a voice I also could not understand. I may have overdone it, just a little bit. I'm not even sure I can call it a voice. The noise might be a more appropriate description. Well, it's not like I had any choice. It would be a pain for me if you died here. After all, you're the protagonist of this story. At least for now. That's when I noticed it. I wondered how I could have missed it until now. There was a pitch-black silhouette standing right before me, and on top of that black silhouette floated a face I remembered seeing somewhere before. But I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember whose face it was. You don't remember who I am, do you bastard? I guess that's just natural. But don't worry, I'm sure you'll come to remember soon enough. After saying that in a laughing tone, the voice coming out of the shadow turned lower. But first, there's something that still requires taking care of here. What happened next started before I knew what was going on, and ended in a split second. First, there was a hand on top of Matarai's head. He was still on the ground, screaming. The hand started stroking his head gently. Matarai looked up with a surprised expression on his face, when suddenly, there was a snapping noise, and his head, fixed with the same expression, began to spin. Finally, it stopped at an inexplicable angle. Matarai collapsed on the ground before he knew what was happening to him. He spitted red foam at my feet, his body convulsing in short spasms. Ah, This is just a dream. That was the conclusion my mind reached then and there, and I could feel my body strangely relax. Yes, it couldn't be anything else. The scene is so far removed from reality that it can't possibly be anything but a dream. Even that laughing voice echoing deep inside my ears. Just a dream. Before I knew what was happening, the black shadow was once again standing right in front of me. But this also was definitely a dream. The face floating on top of the shadow, who I was sure I've seen before, started talking again. Until you can remember better, you should call me Super High School Level Despair. Yeah, I think that fits. The eyes on that face were excessively dark. In fact, they looked more like holes than eyes. I stared at them blankly and felt as if my consciousness was being sucked up into their void. Inside the holes was a bottomless swamp, full of black mud. My entire body was quickly drenched in it, as I was slowly consumed by something that wasn't myself. Then, I heard a voice from somewhere far away. See you soon, you bastard! When we meet again, I'll kill you properly! It was a small voice, coming from far away, but at the same time it seemed like it was also whispering directly inside my ears. This sure is a strange dream. With that last thought, I finally became totally submerged inside the bottomless swamp, and then my consciousness was completely lost. The girl tilted her neck. Junko and Ashima tilted her neck grandiosely. It's great that I came back and all, but what's going on here? She swayed up from her crouching posture. There was something right in front of her eyes. It was a dead body. A man. His neck and arms twisted in a strange way. Let's see. This guy is... She raised her hand to her chin and closed her eyes tightly, posing like a great detective on the verge of a huge deduction. After a short period of indecision, Junko and Ashima suddenly raised her voice in a cheer. Oh, I remember. That's right. His name was Matarai. By the way, that's silly of me, forgetting who someone I just killed myself is. I hope that forgetfulness of hers isn't contagious. Just kidding. And Ashima's laughter echoed through the night sky and seemed to pile up on top of itself. It was as if there were more than one of her, laughing in simultaneous chorus. But the next moment, her laughter stopped. Her face turned sullen, as if she suddenly got tired of laughing. There's also the issue of that other missing body. Honestly, where did that old geezer go? Suddenly, she was laughing again. There was a wide smile on her face, as if she had suddenly tired of sullenness. Well, it's not like it matters where he disappeared to, right? I am so despair-inducingly great at planning plans. The second her declaration was done, her face turned sullen yet again. But it's so unsatisfying when your plans always succeed. Whose fault is this? Is anyone gonna take responsibility? Her expression changed with every sentence that came out of her mouth, but none of it was an act. Every time, it reflected her true feelings. Despair-inducing capriciousness. That's what she was all about. Super high school level despair, Junko and Ashima. With the sullen expression still on her face, and Ashima trotted towards Matarai's dead body. It's your fault, you know? Take that! She started thrusting her tiptoes into the body. Hey, say something. What's up with being so easy to kill? You should have at least made an effort to disrupt my plans. How can I possibly despair like that? At that point, she suddenly changed her voice.
It hurts. I'm sorry.
She mimicked the dead Matarai's voice, as if she was on a morbid ventriloquism show.
And Ashima-sama, please forgive me.
She continued kicking the body as she spoke for it with a comical, overdramatic voice. Dark red liquid came flowing out of the body's mouth.
I'll repent by committing suicide, so please forgive me.
And Ashima returned to her normal voice. But you can't do that. You're already dead. Having delivered her grand punchline, she stepped hard on Matarai's face. Splat. A thick sound of something being crashed echoed through the air. And Ashima laughed a loud, vulgar laugh, as if her one-woman show was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Nevertheless, she soon got tired of that too, and her face returned to its original expression. Well then, I guess I have to call that pitiful sister of mine and ask her to clean things up over here. First, I'll have her take care of this dirty body. Then, she'll have to clean up inside that shed too. And finally, I just have to carry Ryoko Odenashi to her beloved boyfriend, and my work here will be done. Having confirmed her immediate plans to herself, Enoshima started laughing again, as if she had just remembered something funny. She laughed vulgarly and grandiosely, facing the sky, both her arms spread to her sides. Her cruel, gruesome laughter echoed high in the night sky. There was no coherence to it, nor any necessity or sentiment. That was what super high school level despair Junko Enoshima was all about.